There's no doubt that the anime game market is oversaturated with 3D arena fighters. There's Naruto Storm, Dragon Ball Xenoverse, One Piece Burning Blood, Demon Slayer The Hinokami Chronicles, My Hero One's Justice, One Punch Man A Hero Nobody Knows, Kill la Kill If, The Seven Deadly Sins Knights of Britannia, and the upcoming Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash. For a while, it felt like the only possible genre that an anime game could be was a 3D arena fighter. That was until January 26, 2018, with the release of Dragon Ball FighterZ, a game that not only took the anime game community, but also the fighting game community by storm, quickly cementing its place in anime game history and breaking the mold of what an anime game could be. So, let's take a deep look into how Dragon Ball FighterZ broke the anime game curse. Dragon Ball FighterZ was originally revealed at Microsoft's E3 presentation on June 11, 2017, with a trailer that highlighted the gameplay and art style. The reveal was immediately met with an overwhelmingly positive reception. This was the type of game anime fans were asking for, one that takes full advantage of the anime art style and that features a complex fighting system. As further details about the game's development were revealed, fans only got more excited. In an interview with the game's producer, Tomoko Hiroki, released 3 days after the initial reveal on June 14th, she says, "We're really aiming to create a game that satisfies fans of fighting games as well." This quote is the key difference between most anime games and Dragon Ball FighterZ. Most anime games are produced as cheaply as possible in order to solely satisfy fans of the property, which in turn leads to lackluster gameplay that's over-reliant on fan service. Dragon Ball FighterZ was going to be different though. While yes, it was still going to be for fans of Dragon Ball and still feature some fan service, it was also going to focus equally as much on creating a competent and competitive fighting game. And they're making this very clear from the get-go, ensuring that fans stayed hyped until release. To further the hype, there's a closed beta and even a side event tournament at EVO 2017. Even a year prior to Dragon Ball FighterZ release, it had cemented its place in the competitive fighting game scene. On September 20th, 2017, Bandai released a story trailer revealing information regarding the game's story mode, as well as the new original character Android 21, who was designed by Dragon Ball creator Akira Toriyama, which only furthered the game's hype. Finally, a year after its initial reveal, Dragon Ball FighterZ launched on January 26, 2018, on PS4, Xbox One, and PC via Steam. Switch users would have to wait until later in the year on September 28, 2018 for it to release on the Nintendo Switch. Dragon Ball FighterZ was immediately met with commercial and critical success following its launch. It currently sits at an 87 critic score and 8 user score on Metacritic. There's even still an active player base on Steam charts, with 3,446 players in December 2023. In terms of sales, it shipped over 2 million copies in its first week, and has since sold over 10 million copies by May 2023. So how did Dragon Ball FighterZ achieve the critical acclaim, player base, and sales that no other anime game had done before? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's take a deeper look into Dragon Ball FighterZ. Like I mentioned before, Dragon Ball FighterZ was developed with a hard focus on being a competitive fighting game, but that's not the only reason the gameplay is beloved. It's also because the game was able to implement mechanics and systems that are befitting of a Dragon Ball game. And also because Arc System Works developed it. Arc System Works is known for a number of popular fighting games, such as the Blaze Blue and Guilty Gear series, so they already knew how to make a competitive fighting game, unlike some other developers Bandai has worked with. Cough, Spike Chunsoft, cough. When developing the gameplay and its mechanics, Arc System Works had a specific mentality in mind. Hiroki commented that the aim for us was to create a real fighting game using characters and themes from Dragon Ball. As such, we took great pains to develop the game to be a competitive fighter, overflowing with lots of Dragon Ball charm. That's enough background information, so let's go over what Dragon Ball charm really translated into. The basic gameplay of Dragon Ball FighterZ is very similar to other 3v3 team-based fighting games, most notably the Marvel vs. Capcom series, a similarity that Hiroki claims was unintentional. In terms of basic moves, you have light, medium, and heavy attack, all of which can be pressed repeatedly for a predetermined super combo. You also have a basic special attack that for the majority of characters is a ranged attack. You can also use assists and swap which character on your team you're playing as. And, like in most 2D fighting games, you can attack both high and low, as well as block both high and low. Now those are all standard mechanics for any 2D fighting games. So what are the Dragon Ball specific systems in place? First, you have a ki meter. This can either be charged manually or can be filled over time by dealing and taking damage. Ki is required for certain moves, as well as for stronger versions of special moves. Special moves are executed like specials in most 2D fighting games by entering a specific sequence of inputs, but by also using ki, you can execute a stronger version of said special. Ki is also used to execute super moves, or as the game refers to them, meteor attacks. The final use for ki is the vanish move. It requires 1 bar of ki, but allows you to teleport behind your enemy. Another move, this one not requiring ki, is called the super dash. The super dash has your character home in on your opponent and fly towards them. The next move is the dragon rush, which can break an opponent's block. After that, we have the Sparking Blast. Each player is allowed to use the Sparking Blast once per round. If you're near your opponent when you activate it, then you will knock them back on activation. Activating it also gives you a number of temporary buffs, including increased damage, increased ki charging, healing up blue health, and others. But there is one way to get a second Sparking Blast in the same round, and that has to do with our last Dragon Ball mechanic, which is Shenron and the Dragon Balls. Whenever you land a super combo, you'll receive 1 Dragon Ball, which will be displayed on the bottom of the screen. Something to note with this is that both players share the same pool of Dragon Balls, but in order to use them, you have to collect all of them and then land a super combo once all of them have been obtained. Once you do that, you'll be able to make one of 4 choices: receive a second Sparking Blast, revive a fallen ally, recover a fighter's health, or regenerate health for the remainder of the match. These are the main mechanics of the gameplay, but there are also a number of additional details that really add to the Dragon Ball flair. For instance, if you finish off an opponent with a heavy attack, you'll activate a destructive finish, wherein your opponent will go flying away and destroy the surrounding area. There are also these cool entrance animations where the fighters will fly towards each other and clash before engaging in battle. The gameplay is just as complex as any Arc System Works 2D fighter, but is able to make it even more interesting with the Dragon Ball specific mechanics. While most other anime games will rely heavily on anime fanservice, FighterZ is able to strike a perfect balance between competitive gameplay and fanservice. That brings me to my next point, the amazing visuals. Arc System Works has a very distinct visual style that's present in most of their games, and that style mixed with Dragon Ball's art style led to this game looking amazing. From the super attacks to the character entrances, everything just looks awesome. It's the perfect translation of an anime's art style to a video game. They didn't try to make it look overly realistic like other anime games. They really just played into the genre's strength and made it look like an actual anime come to life. Yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about the visuals. They look good. Very good. What Dragon Ball FighterZ was able to do that no other anime game has been able to do is break into the major competitive fighting game scene. Like I mentioned earlier, before it even released, Dragon Ball FighterZ was already a side event at EVO 2017, and ever since its release in 2018, EVO has been a part of the main EVO lineup every year that they've had one. Even looking past their participation at fighting game events, Arc System Works is constantly working on improving the game any way they can, such as working on implementing rollback netcode. Dragon Ball FighterZ was the perfect equation for an anime game. You had a great and reputable developer who knew how to make a complex fighting game, Arc System Works, paired with one of, if not the, most popular anime series in the world, Dragon Ball. All while the developers focused heavily on making a competitive fighting game, while also balancing it with fan service, such as the game's original story mode with its original character, and a number of Dragon Ball specific mechanics to bring a new spin on the tag team based 2D fighter. No other anime game has ever had this level of thought and focus put into it, because most anime games are simply concerned with making quick cash off the anime's popularity, but not FighterZ. FighterZ's main concern was making a competitively viable fighting game that lived up to Dragon Ball and fighting game fans' expectations. It really baffles me how no other anime has tried the FighterZ method. You'd think with the game's wild success that Bandai would want to cash in on it with as many franchises as possible and start pumping out games like Naruto FighterZ and One Piece FighterZ. Even if they couldn't get Arc System Works on board, there's still plenty of other developers out there that know how to make competent fighting games. And by other developers, I mean any developer besides Spike Chunsoft. Bandai, please stop getting a visual novel developer to make your fighting games. Thanks.